Oh, there's a lot of little guys here. All right. So she told me I should prepare, and then I should probably, but I don't do that shit. I'm a big fan of winging it. So I'll give it like, I mean, the channel's just loading up full of people. I feel popular and wanted. This is the first. So I'm a little more relaxed than she likes to make it. I know you guys are recording, but it's not very much fun to ask me anything if you don't ask me anything, right? So, like if you feel like you can't talk or you can't laugh or that they'll yell at you, tell them I said fuck off. And I don't care. You can laugh. So I'm the CEO of Sniggedly, the largest corporation in Pandemic Legion. I am the second CEO it's had. It is also the founding corporation of Pandemic Legion, and other illustrious people like Reza, the CEO of Waffles, and Goblins, your own overlord, also come from my corp after a long time. And yeah, I've been playing the game for about 10 years, and I think the easiest way to do this is to just let you guys ask questions. Because after 10 years, there's simply no way I can impart any volume of knowledge on a single Sunday. So yeah, I hate that you're all gonna sit here quiet too. That's a little bit bothersome. It makes me scratch my beard. So if you feel like you want to just ask me a question, just type the word question and mumble, and I'll call on you by name if I can pronounce your weird conglomeration of fucking alphabet that you call a name, and we'll see what you got. Does anybody have any opening questions they would like to ask? All right, Testament. We'll start with that guy. We'll go down the list. You can type as many questions as you want in, and we'll just go through each and every one of them. So, like, as long as they're not stupid ice cream questions, in which case, fuck you.
Okay. So I've played for a long time, and I've FC'd here and there. Trying to get back into it and strap my balls on to actually start doing it. My question is how do I deepen my playbook for tactics? I mean, what is the best way to do that? Because at the moment, mine are pretty basic, in my opinion, compared to what I see.
Yeah. So the probably the first thing you want to do is just pay attention to other groups. Like I always like to make a joke that the strongest thing there is in Eve, better than any ship or better than any like tactic you could possibly use, is just learn. Learn as much as you possibly can. There are people in this game better than me, better than you, at different tasks. Whereas, you know, everybody's got their specialty. You have people like Chesser and stuff like that that are good at mechanical skill flying. And then you have other people like Shadu, who doesn't play anymore, but he used to be one of the, he's probably known as one of the greatest SCs the game's ever known. Nice, I like your mic. And the best way to learn what those guys do is to watch either some of the live streams of the larger fights that have comms, watch some of the replays on videos, and expose yourself to different people's tactics. A good one was Rooks and Kings. They had a lot of really slow play and instructional videos on how they did the things they were doing and stuff like that. But yeah, basically I would say just study. Even if you just get into a frigate because you hear there's going to be a big fight or a big brawl somewhere, and you go over and you just watch Cloaked and see what they do. That'll give you some ideas on how things work. Read battle reports as often as you can to see what, like, they're always biased, right? So you have to put a filter on when you read a battle report, because they're written from usually the victor writes the battle report and they're written from his perspective, which is always slightly slanted. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The best thing I can advise if you want to expand your playbook is to watch and or find an FC to latch onto, and have him directly teach.
What does the corp name Sniggerdly mean?
That's a good question. I have no idea. Like, I literally have no idea. So I'm the second CEO of my corp, and everybody's like, "That's racist," and I actually Googled it. It's not. At least I don't think it was intended to be that originally. But yeah, the corp Snigwaff and Sniggerdly were both started by the same guy, Seamus Orzaz. He won our first 3 Alliance tournaments and is generally considered a genius. At Eve, he had the ability to see things that the rest of us necessarily couldn't see coming, probably a lot better, and set the Alliance up to be what it is today. Right, and no more questions for you. This isn't your question and answer. You ask me questions all day.
Reading the players' questions. Jesus. Storm Delay says, how do you feel about Horde and Brave bubbling a PL Titan open rebellion?
Good luck. I don't care. That type of thing doesn't really necessarily bother me. You may know me from notable places as getting mad and yelling loud enough to make Fourth Online magazine about a lost spaceship. I was a younger man then and had time to waste on that stuff. I don't care so much anymore. In my opinion, if the Titan put himself in a position where you could bubble him, then he got what he deserved. But evidently, looking at the battle report, you guys got what you deserve. So fair is fair. But yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't bother me anymore. And plus, I'm pretty sure it was part of Tempest's going away thing yesterday.
It was.
All right, see, as long as everybody had fun, really. I know some of you had never got to see a Titan, probably some of you had. Some of you had never seen the business end of one for sure. And now you have.
Sophie Anathema says, I can't talk right now, but if you can answer, what's the difference between Snigg and other corps in PL?
We try way harder. I mean, that's pretty much the simplest TLDR you could possibly get. Like, I got given this corp by somebody that I respect a lot when he had to take over running his family in real life. He was like, I was the person he entrusted with basically 7 years of his work, and I've taken that job pretty seriously considering what he did with the Alliance, and I expect more out of Snigg members than I do out of any other member of the Alliance. That being said, it means I yell at them more than anybody else. I expect them to do more whenever we need something done. I usually expect them to be the first ones to step up and do it. I am harder on them for things they might do wrong. What in another corp NPL might get just kind of brushed under the rug, in my corp might get you kicked out. Just because, like I said, I expect more. I expect less scamming, less general asshat behavior. Like if you ransom somebody and you don't honor it, I will bounce you on the very next day, because we started out that way. That's how we made our money, and I still take that very seriously. But yeah, other than that, that's basically it. We try a little harder because we are pretty much the founding corp of the Alliance, and like I said, I just expect more out of Snigg members than I do out of anybody else in PO.
Victor Checkmate asks, a question about the leadership structure in PL beyond what Shadu presented at FanFest. Campaign commanders sound like a temporary military leader, so who manages finance, standing, and other Alliance level stuff?
Okay, so finance is actually a job we take really seriously, because if you give PL FCs a chance, they will spend every dime you have, and that's a statement considering how much money we have. Just in AT ships alone, I would say we're probably around a 25 trillion mark from all past tournament wins. So when we hand the keys to a guy to run our money, he tends to have those keys for a lot of years. For first, it was Curl. He's still with the Alliance, but doesn't play as much anymore. And he passed it along to a good buddy of mine named Phalanx 3, who monitored it for 4 or 5 years, and now it's in the hands of Kenneth Feld. And it can make a young man old trying to stop us from spending all of our money. As far as standings go, we have a couple people we trust, and that's about it. I cannot affect PL standings, because it turns out if I can set standings, I can unset standings, and sometimes I get angry. So it's probably not safe to have me on the trigger of people who we can and can't shoot. Otherwise, one day we might shoot the children. So, but yeah, basically we have a really good structure in place where there are 2 or 3 guys who can affect standings and 1 guy who controls our money. And in the background, Elise and myself kind of halfway monitor everything going on and make sure nobody makes any really terrible mistakes, like forget to pay a sob bill and lose 30 Titans or something weird like that. And that's how it runs.
Next question. Zoinkster asks, how does one join if he knows no one is Snigg and has no vouch? Is that even possible?
It's hard, right? And that's a weird one, because yeah, you don't have a vouch and you don't know anybody in Snigg, but there are a couple avenues. The main avenue used to be Sniggwaff. They were Sniggerdly's training corp, as it were. And training is a bad word, because like you were expected to know what you were doing in Sniggwaff. What it really was personality vetting. We took you into Waffles, made sure you didn't have too big of an ego, made sure you were a team player, make sure we adjusted you properly to what can be considered a slightly harsher environment. I will call you an asshole at the top of my lungs if you screw up. So we basically put you in there and let you sit for 6 months to a year to make sure you were the type of person that fit in. That's not a thing anymore. I mean, people can still join Sniggedly, and after a while in there, they can ask to be moved up. If Reza thinks you're worth it, he'll poke me. But like the last 3 people he poked me about, I just told him to go ahead and keep him. I thought they'd be more happy where he was. So basically that leaves you, the only avenue is find one of us and make friends. And that sounds a little bit daunting, but I have a rule in Snigg where I don't care where you play Eve as long as you play Eve, and so I get a slightly more diverse player base. I have a bunch of guys that hang out in different places in low-sec, a lot of dudes that you'll find just randomly around in 0-0, and your best bet is probably at that point to just try and make friends with one of them. Like if you can manage to survive Amamaki for a weekend, they'll probably be friendly towards you. You can hang out with them, and then you make a friend with somebody in Snigg, and that's your way in. That's pretty much it, though. I'm fairly selective. I have 151 real people in my corp that average about 3 accounts each. And so I am super selective about who I let in. So good luck.
All right. Text asks, the current capital powers that be, PL, NC, whatever, hold little to no sovereignty. Does there need to be more incentive to holding space and less incentive to holding moons? Or do you feel the current system works, in your opinion?
I think you're still seeing the current system play out. Like, there is more incentive to hold space than I think you know about. Especially for super carrier holders, super cap holders like Titan and Supers. Like, the inability to have an XL Citadel is, if you're nomadic like we are, is difficult because the options it allows for fitting transitions and things on supers is pretty huge. Right now, PL carries everything they need to refit with in the super Titan, which limits space and actually limits what we can even carry. So we have to make some hard choice options there. But I think what you're going to see is over time, like even moon income's been nerfed again and again and again and again and again until the point where there aren't any really big money makers as far as moons go. And to make money at the alliance level holding moons, you have to hold a ridiculous sum of them. And now if you move away from those moons, you'll lose them. People can just take them while you're not there because it's so hard to come back. It could take days. Like if you jump 3 jumps away and you're stuck with a day timer, it's 3 jumps back. Before you ever even get home, the tower would be dead. So you even owning moons at this point kind of forces you to stay in a general area. So I think you're going to see more of the need to own space play out over time, and the effect on alliances like NC Dot and PL. Like NC Dot has a home. They have a XL Citadel up. They have space. They rat. They have a rental empire that they run. So they're not as near as nomadic as they used to be. They are a space holding alliance that is not afraid to deploy at this point. Whereas PL is literally terrified of holding space because of what it might do to us as an alliance. As far as apathy and things go. But yeah, over time, I think you'll see that we really wish we owned space. And you may even find that over time, we actually find some space to call our own, but we'll see how that goes.
Hex Hangin asks, what do you like most about Eve?
Huh. It's a rough one, right? Because I've been playing for 10 years, so there's obviously something that keeps me here, yeah?
Addiction.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there's a lot. There's a lot of aspects of it. Like Eve is probably the only game I play that still gives me the shakes. I've been playing it for 10 years. If I get in a good fight, I still get an adrenaline rush like I'm ready to actually fight somebody. I don't know any other game that's ever given me that feeling. That very particular, peculiar feeling that you get halfway through an Eve fight when you're either sure you're going to win or sure you're going to lose and your hand is just trembling like crazy like you're a palsy victim or something, yeah. That's probably one of the things I like most, besides the depth. Like if I wanted to quit Sniggedly today and go and do my own thing, there is a whole world of stories that will come after that for what I do next in Eve. And that's insane to me. Like there is no final boss level. There's no end to the narrative other than the one that I try and push. Like when I'm done telling a story in this game, it's over. Until then, every day is something new. And that's pretty cool.
Tongkong Pao says, how does PL as an alliance make its money these days? Post tech nerf rental empires merc contracts.
Yeah, that's actually a point of discussion that we're having internally in the alliance right now, which was, led me to say what I said earlier about things still changing. We take moons, we tax moons as per normal. The member takes a moon, and he's responsible to tend that moon like a little shrub outside his house. He's responsible to water it, feed it, take all the fruit that it might make to the store and sell it, and then he gives us 50%. And for that 50%, we promise to bring every asset the Alliance has to protect his tower should it come under attack. So he basically gets a moon and has to pay a protection racket to the Alliance. But for that, he gets paid pretty well. We do small merc contracts. We've done some Citadel defense and stuff in high sec. Because of that, I'm currently war decked, which sucks. I like to go to Gita and shop. And right now I can't go to the mall because there's hoodlums outside. But yeah, we don't have a rental empire. We sold bot when they made the jump drive changes because we knew it would be too hard to get back and defend it. And we are actually currently exploring options on what we'll do next for a stable source of income. Right now we just like to win the Alliance tournament or place like second or third and get a bunch of ships that are worth 160 million each. So that's our current income method is win.
Planet Killer Werewolf asks, for the people dreaming to one day be in PL, what are you looking for in a member? What are the requirements to apply to a corporate PL? What skills exactly are needed?
Well, first of all, a name like Planet Killer Werewolf is absolutely terrifying, so that'll go a long way. Yeah, you need, we have some pretty basic requirements. There's no set hard skill point limit, though if you walk up with like 10 million skill points like, hey, what's up, people are going to make fun of you. The ability to fly a fax force auxiliary carrier is pretty mandatory at this point in the Alliance. Like if you can't fly one, we probably will turn you down. The ability to fly either support or mainline doctrine ships that we currently use, like T3 cruisers, Apocalypse Navy battleships, the support classes for those, whether that be logistics, dictors, fleet tackle, fleet boosters. We have guys that ride around like Doom Chinchilla. His favorite thing to do in our fleet is to fly a booger cannon, which is a command destroyer. And he just likes to grab people and fling them off their fleet. And we've integrated that type of behavior into the fleets and made it functional, and that's all he does. So he doesn't fly a ship. Doom probably has well over 100 million skill points and never flies a ship that takes more than 6 or 7 million because he likes that best. Same with Cheeb. Cheeb's been playing for 12 years. You'll never see him in anything but a saber. So yeah, I would say you have to show the ability to think on your feet, survive on your own. You have to have shown a little bit of personal effort at times to try and get noticed by people or something like that, or just perform well in Eve mechanically. I don't go to your kill board and be like, oh, he's got an 86% efficiency, he sucks. But like if I go to your kill board, I'm like, damn, this guy's been trying real hard at solo killing for the past 8 to 10 months, and he might only lose Tristan's, but he kills a lot of shit in Tristan's. I'll probably give you a thought. But basically, yeah, if you can't fly a force auxiliary, and I know a lot of you can't, like that's going to be something that's out of reach because it's currently a mandatory requirement due to our FCs being gigantic little mini girls worried about losing super skypes.
Tiberius Sourfang asks, what's going to happen in Tribute now once the bullets stop flying, now that Horde is staying put?
So none of you have kids, but if you ever have a kid and you go out shopping and you find him a nice house and you buy it and you clear out the squatters and you're like, this is going to be a good house. Here, son, here's a house. And your son's like, nah, I'm staying in the trailer park, Dad. I don't know what we're going to do with Tribute now because we kind of had an idea that we're going to give it to you. And to that, like I ran fleets for the first time in like 3 years to kill towers and shoot pocos and basically scrape all the shit off your house that we had gotten for you. Now I don't know what we're doing with it. Currently, I'm mining in a Rorqual in it, and that's about as far as I got with it. If you have any suggestions, we're open to it. But it's kind of poop space, and it's kind of in range of everything that wants to kill you all the time. So unless you have 160 super caps backing you up, it's probably not the best place to carry a Radar Mine. So yeah, any suggestions on what to do with Tribute, you can mail to Jeff Rader, and we will catalog them all and figure out what we wanna, one we might like. The winner, Jeff, will give a ship.
Termfalk von Einsbern says, if you could rate PL Corps, which ones are better and which ones are not as
Oh,
good?
here we go.
And why is Busa at the bottom? Busa is at the bottom. So, go on.
So one of the things we try and do a little bit is we rag on each other to try and make the individual corps perform better. In my mind, there aren't really better corps per se, because the corps that exist now in PL all have an active leadership structure that we've worked really hard at making not be shit. Regardless whether or not they put 3 dudes in fleet or whether they put 53 dudes in fleet, at some point they have a leadership structure we can talk to. So after fucking all these years in PL, that's all I can really ask for. And Booster might be at the bottom, but Muck's good at swinging uphill, so I like him.
Jahio Dudegrin asks, how does structure anchoring in PL space work? Or to be more specific, if a newbie wants to anchor his POS somewhere in PL space, how should he proceed and who should he ask?
Carefully would be the best way to proceed. Let's see. It would depend on what you wanted the POS anchored for, I guess, because we're paranoid. At any given, like our mining fleet had 25 billion ISK on the field, right? So at any time that we would let people near us, we would want to know why, what they're doing, what their plans are, and stuff like that. So like if you wanted to put up like some form of weird laboratory or something like that, you want to Frankenstein it up in the middle of PL space, that's something somebody might consider. But if you're like, hey, I'd like to put a reaction moon on that tower, there's a pretty good chance that somebody else is already going to be like, no, I'm putting a reaction moon on that tower. I don't know who you would even begin to talk with. Maybe poke me, I guess, is where I would start with that one, and I would see what I can do depending on what you want the tower for. I don't want to send you off to like Peanut Smash or something like that if you have a retard question. My cat is literally fucking with me right now. What is going on? She's clawing my leg. Anyway, yeah, before you come up with a why you'd want to anchor the tower or the lab or the structure or whatever, and get back to me personally, and then we'll see if we want to send you to other people to see if that's okay.
Gurney Halleck asks, what's your favorite subcap right now, and would you share the fit?
Kronos. And the fit is all over Z-Kill. I die almost constantly. I have a, we call them an ass clappers. They're the Asclepians. They're an implant set, but the name sounds silly to me, so ass clapper sounds better. And they're a pirate implant set that affects the amount of armor you rep. And it turns my Kronos into a ship-eating machine. Generally speaking, unless they show up with one logistic ship, in which case I'm fucked. But yeah, I like Marauders best. I don't have to deal with E-War quite so much while I'm in them. And my fits run about 3.5 billion ISK each. Christmas is coming, by the way.
Damn.
All right, Victor Checkmate says, are X-Death to any extent kind of PL renters? If not, what would your stance be if someone proposed a campaign to wreck them?
No, I know Death personally. I did a voiceover for a video game, a company he was a part of, worked on for a little bit. It was first time I've ever done any voice acting at all, so it was kind of fun for me. I met him in Vegas last year. I've been talking to him for the better part of 7 years, but they're not renters at all. Like, they contract us a lot, actually. They're actually, more specifically, more often than not, our boss. They pay us. As far as an attack on them goes, we will literally fuck for money. So if you were to offer us a contract to attack them and it was lucrative enough to afford the kind of firepower you're looking to pay, then yeah, we would be down as fuck to kill them. I'd pretty much, I mean, for the right offer, Vince, I'll fight Vince. So we'd lose that fight, by the way. I'm pretty sure NC could curb stomp us out of sheer weight alone. But yeah, for the right amount of money, we'll fight just about anybody. So if you want to attack the drone regions, we'll work up a contract.
How did Doom Chinchilla asks, how's it feel now to be the number 2 corp in PL?
Feels all right. How does it feel to be surrounded by minors. How is it?
Okay, Testament 81 says, if Horde does stay in 7RM Fade, what would be your advice to keep content and growth in a region? How we had a lot of content with World War B and Circle of Test level fleet fights.
Well, 7RM is kind of nice. It's kind of like at a little nexus. As long as you don't make too many friends. And that's kind of the curse of Eve, right? You meet a lot of cool people and you kind of want to hang out and you want to be friends with them all. And then 6 months go by and you realize you're friends with all these cool people, but the nearest thing to shoot is 47 jumps away. I have been in an alliance that was there when I first started, Knights of the Southern Cross. Hostiles actually had to come to our systems because there wasn't anything anywhere around us that was blue, or that wasn't blue. So I think that's the tightrope that your directorate and or Goblins walks, is keeping friendly with the people that live around you without hampering your gameplay by setting standings. And I think you guys have that going on pretty good right now, as far as I know, unless you are actually blue to darkness, in which case, welp. But I think you guys basically keep everybody around you kind of neutral and just on good terms, which is probably the best thing you could possibly do, because you don't have to go far for content. You have to go far for war, but you don't have to go far for day-to-day content. I think that's a really good balance that he struck there.
Odin Negras? Maybe
I'm glad you're doing these names. This would fucking break my brain.
Asks, what are your thoughts on alphas and the direction that the change to the financial model of the game is going?
I was a little worried at first, right? Because all these free-to-play fringe games seem like they're all lingering on a life support machine. And when they announced free-to-play, I was kind of like, well, 10 years has been fun. But after actually, keeping an open mind, which is super important when you're playing games for this company for a decade now, yeah? Like, if I had a kid, he'd be getting ready to go to high school and shit. So, it's important to keep an open mind when you hear stuff from them, because there have been things from the past that have never came to pass and will never come to pass, like atmospheric flight, walking in stations where I could have owned a titty bar and you could have all came in and gambled in it, stuff like that. Things that just will never happen. You keep an open mind, and then you wait and see what they do, because I've been here, I've been here for 10 years. It's not like I'm going anywhere anytime soon. So they obviously do something right. And it's not just me. There's a couple thousand of us that are like this. I don't know how many thousands. Probably, one time it was like 500,000 of us, but I don't think it's anyway. So the implementation they did was actually really good. The alphas are effective. A group of alphas can be actually dangerous. I don't think alphas can take space, which is a little weird. I feel like the only thing they're really missing is the Entosis mod, but maybe they can use it, and I just don't know. Yeah. See, I feel like that's something they maybe want to improve. Like an alpha should be able to, they should be able to take space. I think in all alpha alliance, taking and owning its own space would have been fucking amazing. But they actually are going to need subbed players to take space. So that may be a little point of failing. I'm a little concerned a little bit about the races, because Gallente and Caldari are great. Mimitar and Amarr kind of suck. They're a little bit like, the ships are not that great. Mimitar got the destroyers, which was kind of cool, but the cruisers are junk. Their frigates are also junk. Same thing with the Amarr. But without Scorch, Amarr are not good. Everybody's like, oh, Amarr's so strong, they tank so hard. Yeah, that usually means that because you can't shoot anybody, you just sit there for 5 minutes and die slowly and watch all your friends die slowly afterwards. And that's pretty much Tech 1 Amarr in a TLDR. We die slow. But yeah, I like the numbers that it's brought to the game. I mean, I can log in at midnight my time, and suddenly there's 23,000 people online instead of the 11,000 that were there before. I hope that they enjoy the game, and I hope that they find the awe and wonder that most of us found the first time we undocked and went, Jesus Christ, I'm lost. Like, that is that's going to be the thing that drives them to stay. And yeah, I hope a lot of them actually switch over to at least Plex subscriptions, so that they can see a little bit more of the game. And maybe if enough of us see more of the game, we can do a little something about regen timers on Sov shit.
You want to answer a non-serious question or no?
If it's about ice cream, I
It's
don't.
not ice cream.
Just remember, if you ask ice cream questions, I can remove your services just as fast as people gave them to you. So I don't like those. They're not funny and they're dumb.
It's close though. Have you ever used squeezy jelly, and what kind?
Okay, I don't want to answer that question. That one's dumb. Let's move on. I like preserves. Jelly is for the ghetto.
All right. Melissy and Tetro asks, "What Force Ox do you prefer, Heart?"
If you're talking about 4PL, we prefer the Apostle. We like the Amarr. It's the best for fleet work. The Lith, the Mimitar one, and whatever the hell the Gallente one's called, its name always escapes me. Those are really good for small gang, really good for wormhole stuff, limited escalations. They're excellent against smaller subcap fleets and stuff like that, even some larger subcap fleets. Because of the newt resistance and stuff that you can like get with their fits, not like the actual in-war newt resistance, but the way you can fit the ship makes it a little harder to kill. But for fleet work, you're gonna see the Minakawa, the Caldari facts, and the Apostle, the Amarr facts most. And of those, I would say mine would be the Apostle, even though it looks like the Pope's hat.
So, I'm not sure how much Grath is going to be able to answer this, but Setmaster wants to ask, is joining Horde Vanguard what new Horde members should aim for? If not, what position or corp should they aim for?
See, that's weird because that would be. I don't think I should ever suggest what you should do in Eve because there's so much you can do in Eve. If you are, I mean, if you attended an AMA, if you're here after you didn't start like 4 hours ago, then you probably found something that interested you in the game. And since Horde covers so much and has so many different activities you can take part in, I don't think I should ever tell you one that you should strive for. What I should tell you to strive for is to find the thing in Eve that is fun for you. There's stuff that's fun. Like I hate ratting. I can't stand killing the little rats. That drives me ape shit nuts. I'd probably actually rather just go sit on a live electrical wire than fucking kill those things. And I'm not kidding. It is the most boring gameplay I could possibly imagine. And even incursions, I got yelled at in incursion fleets because I would just be trying to keep up, and it's so bored. I'm just nodding out in my chair like, okay. So I can't do that, but maybe you can, and maybe you're great at it. Like Dankel's amazing. They count their rat ticks out, so you can as a competition or some shit like that. So whatever it is that makes you happy, if you feel like you want to be some elite dude, then join the Horde Vanguard. If you feel like you want to be a jump drive jockey, then try and get in the Horde Cap group. If you are into being sneaky and spying on the enemy and stuff like that, maybe there's a Horde Recon group and that's your thing. Whatever it is that you think is what you would like to try and eat, there isn't a career field in this game that you can think of that they haven't covered in some fucking way. So find it and be it, even if it's teacher. Like there are teachers in Horde. So
Cynthianari asks, I'm currently training an alt for a dread, and my main will be training towards a carrier fax in a few weeks.
stop training the dread.
Where would a Hordeling go to learn what not to do before I actually try undocking caps?
I don't know how well it's run or anything like that, but you have a there is a such thing as a Horde cap group, and I don't know anything about the cap group, but I would just assume, ask you me, that they go over those types of things. If I was to give you a singular piece of advice right now, it would probably be to focus more on the carrier than the dread. Find something else that you like the dread to do too. Like you can train him for a dread because they changed the game. The game, that's super important mindset to have in this game, right? Whatever you're training for now, you should be able to dump and walk away from tomorrow because they might change your ship. And I didn't do that when I first started, and I got really fucking angry because there was a thing called the nano nerf, and the only thing I could do in the game was fly nano ships at the time, and I was really good at it. I got 400 solo kills in a month, like a month. and I was just amazing at it. And they took it, and I was fucking angry for like a month and a half afterwards. And I made the decision right there to train everything at that point so that they couldn't nerf me anymore. And it was probably one of the best decisions I made, and it's something that a lot of the people do in the game now. So while training for dreads right now might not be the greatest thing, they could put a patch out in 2 months, and suddenly dreads are some weird god mode gameplay, and it's just fun to do. So I wouldn't necessarily say not to train it, but I would definitely focus more on the carrier. Carrier gameplay is currently the most dexterity, skill-intensive event in the game. To do the right way. Like, anybody can just launch their drones and stick them on something and find something else to do. What you often find nowadays, though, is you come back and all your fighters are dead and your carrier's in structure. It's not like regular drones at all. They're the complex series of movement and attack commands and positioning and things like that that you do to keep your fighters alive while maximizing damage. And it's hands down that's like the best thing they got going right now as far as game mechanical play goes. So yeah, but I would join the Horde Cap group when you're ready. I know you guys have one, and I would read the resources that are there, and if I look around and find the resources are shit, maybe we'll find somebody like Doom Chinchilla who can help you out, because as far as I know, Doom has been recently helping Waffles because Snigg for a long time wasn't allowed to use caps. It was against the rules. I wanted them to be sub-cap proficient, and we found out that that was both harmful to Waffles and held them back, so Reza started forming a cap group, and Doom Chinchilla has been giving them pointers as they go, and maybe if we find out that Horde doesn't have a properly run cap group, he can write up a couple thousand words, right, Doom?
The Horde Cat group doesn't like that you said don't train dreads. They train dreads.
Yeah, so here's the problem with dreads, and the Horde cap group can listen or not, I don't care. You press siege and you can't be helped for 5 minutes. That's it. It's done. You can't be repped. You can't be nothing. Nothing works on you except for what you have on your ship for 5 minutes. Your damage application and output is generally shit comparatively to carriers. And carriers can be repped the whole fucking time they're applying their damage. Whereas dreads are pretty much just press green button and hope you insured that bitch, because if they decide that they don't want you to shoot anymore, they being a fleet anywhere from 50 to 100 guys or one Titan, there is generally fuck all you're going to do about it. You're going to collect insurance, you're going to wait for your new dread to get built. And because of that, I tend to not like them as much. I don't feel like they do the job that they were designed to do very well at all. Sorry, Cap Group.
This is a lot of words. Nebi Thedipet says, out of the following 10 items, could you pick the top 3 you'd use to describe Pandemic Legion's playing style? Live in low-sec, live in null-sec, use wormholes a lot, be pirates, be super titan experts, be mercenaries, settle down in low-sec, fly big fleets, fly small fleets in skirmish, win alliance tournament, Fozzie-Sov experts.
Jesus Christ, I have to pick some of this shit. We don't live in low sec for sure. We live near low sec. We might stage in low sec for a little short periods of time. We're definitely not settling down in low sec. There's just not enough to feed an alliance of our size. We've been having a little problems winning the alliance tournament lately, so we've been just placing really high. However, the fly small fleets and skirmish thing, you might not associate with us as much, but Muck Barovian is pretty good at it and pretty famous for it, I guess you would say. He's one of our main skirmish guys, and he likes to take out fleets of 20 guys or less, which for us is skirmish. It's actually for, I don't care who you are, for 20 guys or less is skirmish. So we do that a lot too. And I don't know about Fozzie-Sov experts because it sure is fucking hard to take systems right now. We'll see if there's an easier way down the road that we're working on. But I would actually use a lot of those to describe our playstyle. That's we try and let it be pretty diverse for members. About 2 weeks ago, me and Doom took our corps to Amamaki to hang out for a little while, so that would have been a low sec thing while the rest of PL was still in Beano. Yeah, I usually take, like, we have vacations where I go on safari. The safari is wherever FCon lives, and we hunt the FCon. It's what happens once a year for 2 weeks. Stuff like that. So yeah, all those kind of, we use learnholes a lot. We are pirates. We are, I don't know, experts, super titan proficient. We do get paid. We're never going to settle in low sec. We definitely fly big fleets whenever we can get that many people to show up. We definitely fly small fleets. We place well in the Alliance tournament, and we do fight in Fozzie-Sov. So, other than using the word expert a lot, I agree with most of what you said, except for the living in null-sec spot.
All right. Ryan Shazar says, talking about contracts for PL, how expensive is that? If, for example, I would have asked you some months ago to evict CO2.
It costs a lot. I think we figured it up one time. It costs over 30 billion just to move our super fleet, like 2 jumps across Eve, just in fuel alone. So you're looking like when people are like, "Oh, I want to hire you guys," and then we give them a price, and they're like, their jaw hits the floor, and we're like, "Well, it costs more." You're paying to move us in and move us out at the very least. So that's 50, 60 billion right there, flat. If we give you a deal because we bought the fuel on market, like you're paying for that minimum price for any contract. And then you're also paying for our time per week. We could make money somewhere else, whether it be just sieging moons or something like that. I wouldn't even know where to start with a price to do that type of thing. But basically, when the CFC contract first came down, we turned down 2.5 trillion ISK to do the contract. We turned that down. It wasn't enough. We ended up taking the contract later for less, but only because we structured the contract differently into payments, weekly payments that were 100 billion, and we thought the war would stretch for a really long time. We were like, well, it's obvious it'll stretch for more than 25 weeks. It's the CFC. They're bound to fight. Nah, not so much. Kind of shot ourselves in the foot on that one and should have taken the outright 2.5 trillion payout. So it depends. It depends on how the person you negotiate with sets the contract up. It could be a weekly payment. It could be a one-time bulk payment, that type of thing.
Text wants to ask, do you think T1 battleships will ever make an entry back into 0-0 warfare? Only the Maelstrom is used currently. Do you like the current mouth-breathing state of Swipples, Claws, Maulers, and contesting in Tosis nodes? Yeah.
T1 battleships, I mean, I actually think they probably will. With all the mining that's going on right now, the mineral basket just is, there's no way it's going to be able to hold up. So you're going to see Tech 1 battleships get significantly cheaper, I would guess. If you don't know what the mineral basket is, that would be the overall amount of minerals in the game. They were mined at one level, and now suddenly the Rorqual is like the Jesus mining ship. So he's kind of basically put a super carrier on the field and mine with it, is essentially what's going on. But yeah, I think you'll see him probably make a comeback. The Maelstrom, I like the Rock. Like I actually, the last time I FC'd for serious, we were assaulting the drone regions, and we used rocks against Maelstroms on purpose. It was a cheap platform that let us trade at multiple ranges. Like the Maelstroms warped in close, we could brawl. If they warped in a range, they were fucked, we could brawl. They were cheap to trade. Abaddons also trade fairly well as far as, like, if you know you're gonna take significant losses in a war, it's a good ship to use if they're flying the right doctrines, because it's cheap. Foon, another one that people use a lot in the south more often. A lot of the Russian alliances experimented with different types of Foon fleets and stuff. That's about it, though. A lot of the other ones don't necessarily. Mega Fleet, that was another one. Megathron Fleet. The CFC used that for a long time. Otherwise known as the Imperium now. They were a big fan of the Mega Fleet, and it was functionally pretty good for them. So I think you'll see it come back, especially if they get cheaper in situations where attrition is likely going to be high, because it's easier on the member to replace a battleship that's basically paid for by insurance than it is a 500 million T3 cruiser. As far as the swivel goes, I just got nerfed, so I don't know how they're doing. I usually like to, wait a month or two before you make a decision after a nerf. It's not like the Ishtar that they changed 17 times over 2 years and just couldn't get it right, so they finally beat it to death with a hammer until it's useless. But I think they gotten a pretty good grasp of how to do incremental changes, so I imagine the Svipple will be less of a problem, though it will not go away for sure. And in Tosis fleets, I think is just a lack of creativity. Here's the thing, and Aegis Sov happened. Everybody calls it Fozzie Sov. It's not really fair because Fozzie didn't. It's meant to be derogatory. Okay. Anyway, it's meant to be derogatory, and it's not really fair because it's not like Fozzie was the only dude that made the sob up. He just happened to be the developer tasked with delivering it to the player base. And basically, Age of Sob happened, and everybody kind of threw their hands up in this big hissy fit that was a part of 0-0 at the time. Went, I don't want to do this. It sucks. Blur, blur, blur. And so for the past year and change, people have just really been just complaining about it. Nobody's actually like gotten down and dirty and tried to figure out fast ways, creative ways, like different ways to attack the problem. And I think Tappets has been working on that a little bit lately. A guy in PL, it's something he finally just kind of like resigned himself, because that's really where you got to be with it, right? Like, this is the system the game uses. It's not going to change. Dominion Zob we had for like 6 fucking years. So if you're just going to wait it out until they pick a new system, good luck. I'll see you when your kid goes to school. Like, you might as well just adjust, get used to it, accept that it's the system, and then get really fucking good at it. And so that's what I think more people are trying to do now. You have these 500 MN micro warp. Basically, they take a battleship sized micro warp drive and they stick it on a recon because they're harder to jam. They have a higher sensor strike, and they toast with that. I think that's a terrible idea. Like, people were like, I don't know how to catch it, and I was like, well, why don't we do this, or just stick fucking Doom Chinchilla behind it with 3 goddamn meat bazookas and watch him land on top of it in 2 jumps. I just feel like there's you'll see more creative things start to happen as more people accept the sovereignty system.
Iongo Faye asks, what would the name of your in-station titty bar have been?
I never named it. I never got to name it. I didn't even get to start picking out dancers to work in it. I know Jeff was going to tend bar and I was going to own the place, and that was going to be it. We were going to play poker a lot. That's as far as the idea got. And then they destroyed my dreams and made a $75 fucking monocle. Sorry, CCP.
Victor Checkmate asks, what's the extent of influence power that Jeff Rader has? Are you and any other CEO completely free in what Snigg does and does not? Or can Jeff Rader tell you to deploy somewhere? And what's the role of Elise Randolph in the Alliance?
Okay, we'll start with Elise. Elise is like the moderator, the end-all, be-all moderator of everything. You'll know him as the decider. Like, Gubbins is the decider for Horde. Like, at the end of the day, there's a directorate that might bitch and squabble and talk about things and suggest stuff and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that's all just aggregate noise to help Gubbins make a decision. And Elise pretty much has the same task. PL on a day-to-day basis kind of just functions now. We've set it up like that. And there will be times where the discussion can't make progress one way or another, and Elise will just come in and make a decision on it. That's pretty much his role in the Alliance now. As far as how much influence Jeff Rader has, Jeff is super popular because Jeff's a nice fucking guy. Everybody, he's been here for years and years and years. He's never fucked anybody over. He's helped iron out 1,000 arguments between 1,000 people if he's helped one, and so people generally trust him. So he, people tend to like him for the most part, and I would say his influence is pretty strong. If he came to me and demanded we deploy Damamaki, that's a weird one. He wouldn't do that. Like, that's not Jeff's style at all. First of all, he's Canadian, so you couldn't imagine a more polite motherfucker on earth. Second of all, if he did it, he would come to me and be like, I demand you take me to Amamaki because, and he's pretty sane in the reasons he gives for things. He would probably have a good one, and I would assume we'd be going to Amamaki shortly afterwards because his reason would be legitimate. As far as what me and other CEOs do, we're pretty free within reason. We try not to dictate what a corp can recruit to, for the most part. We try and because if you get too much into meddling in day-to-day affairs of a corporation, it's basically just you running 7 corporations, right? So you let those corps into the Alliance because you liked certain aspects of how they operated and what they did. And if you stifle that by being too demanding with what you dictate to the individual corps, you kind of like lose that. They all should have just joined as members of one corp at that point. So there's a little bit of freedom within reason, though, because you join an alliance to be a part of the alliance. So, like, if you were to say join the alliance and you were like, all right, we're deploying to Stain, and 6 months later you and your corp are still in Stain while the alliance is in Venal or some shit like that, it's gonna be a little funny. But if you want to do like little side projects and stuff like that that don't hurt the alliance in the process of your side project, then nobody's going to ever stop you. And that's not just for CEOs, that's for line members too.
What role does Elise play now?
I did that one first.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Rejuice asks, will Mr. Hyde ever come back? I don't know who that is, so I don't know what that means.
I'm told he's not gone. I'm told he's still playing. I don't know Hyde. Like, Hyde hangs out on comm sometimes, or he used to, like 5 months ago. I don't know what he's got going on. I've read like 2 or 3 different things about school and this and that, so it could be anything. But Hyde seems to like Eve a lot, even the Frigate Menace. So maybe he'll be back, hopefully.
Tony Gata asks, is Sniggwaffle and Alpha Waffles now a competition to PL and Horde? Did they ask your permission to create pancakes?
Competition, probably not. They focus on a different area of the game than Horde does. And I would never see them. I don't know. They did kind of, so Reza came to me after the last graduating waffle class last December, and it took me 6 months to process that class, to go through background checks, et cetera, which sounds crazy, but it took 6 months is what it is. It's like 30 dudes, so that should give you an idea how thorough we are as far as vetting you goes. And he asked me if he could stop that, because the brain drain on Sniggwaff was huge. Every 6 months or so, I'd take the 30 most useful people the Corp had, and I'd absorb them into Snigg. That creates an environment where every 6 months there's this gigantic vacuum. And it was really good at making new waffles step up and do stuff, because I took all the waffles that did before. So it would force an entire new batch to step up, but it didn't. Like, the long-term health of waffles was starting to suffer. It was basically Reza and Loki and maybe 1 or 2 other directors that just kind of clung to life and rebuilt the house after I tore it down every 6 months. So they asked me if they could stop that, but they didn't necessarily ask me about waffles. But I give, like, when I said, hey, so Gobbins never asked me if he could do Horde, right? Like, he pitched the idea to me, and he was like, hey, I want to do this thing. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. That's it. Like, and then Reza pitched me this idea. He's like, hey, I'm going to make this Pancakes thing, and there's no immediate conflict of interest with Pandemic Legion, so there's zero reason for me to ever object to anything like that. So it's just like, hey, I'm doing this thing, and I'm like, sweet, that's great. It's like T-Talk. Hey, I'm borrowing 50 billion because I want to make 2 Rorqual miners. Oh, okay, that sounds fine. I can't stop you. It's your own foot. If you want to shoot it, do it up. Like Goblin said, he wanted to make a new player group and surround himself with young, fresh minds. That, to me, is probably something I'm just a little bit too volatile to deal with. I'd have yelled at you all like a lot by now. That's fine for Goblins to deal with. I'm not going to ever get in the way of something like that. So I don't make people ask me permission for shit. That sounds weird. Just so you know, the question person just looked at me and says, do you think Goblin shares your love of young men? I'm like, wait, yes, actually he does.
Alright, Testament 81 says, who can we make evac next? Who would be a good target?
Nobody. The guy earlier asked how you keep content around. Well, you keep content around by not stomping the shit out of people just because you can. I might not even necessarily agreed with the CO2 fight per se, because I didn't have I mean, Gigax had a big fucking mouth, but other than that, who cares really? Like, I don't hate the guy, so there wasn't any reason to really scrape him off the map. However, if I had my actual way about things, I shuffle their shit off to drone regions, because that would put a semi-active group at all the different cardinal points of the map, and spread content around Eve. I don't know anybody at this particular moment that deserves eviction. However, once they make stations explodable, I want to go to Providence.
Let's see here. 160 Soar asks, how do or should we get cap experience, combat experience, while we're here?
You should always start at the test server. The test server used to be this nightmarish thing to get onto, where you had to do all this weird copy to client and change the end of it, and like the fucking weird like shit that makes me nervous. Like it always made me end up. What ended up happening is I'd try and do it, and I'd have to reinstall the Eve client like 3 or 4 times to get it to work. Now it's just a simple button you click on your server browser. So the first place you should always start is the test server. Jump a cap, like just jump, light your own Sino, jump to it, just to be familiar with how that works. Launch fighters, do silly stuff, know what siege feels like, get to feel like, why do guys tell you to stop your ship before you siege? What does that make? Because, well, it turns out if you siege, you'll just gently coast away. Like if you're doing 126 meters a second and you hit siege, you'll just drift at that speed forever. And by the end of 5 minutes, you could be 60 kilometers away from all your buddies because you just drifted out. So start on a test server there and get that going. And then I'll try and see what, like, once you get to the point where you have a capital, I'm pretty sure the cap group you have opens up and answers a lot of the questions that you're going to ask me. Like, how do I get combat experience? I don't know. Maybe they take you on there and you shoot at each other for practice. That's what they should do. Like, your cap group should just skirmish itself on a test server to get functionally better at using capitals.
Master Darklight asks, aside from PvP, what's your favorite thing to do in Eve?
I like exploration. I'm a big fan of that. I do mine a little different than everybody else. I PvP fit my exploration ship, and then I go to hostile space, and I probe down their exploration anomalies, and I sit in them and wait for their explorers to come and then kill them, and then explore the site anyway. So I take their loot and their corpse. That's a little more fun for me that way. And I'm also super into mining right now, as weird as that sounds. I started my career in Eve as a miner in December 2007, and they've suddenly made mining great again. Thanks CCP Trump. And yeah, I'm actually enjoying that a lot.
Melician Tetro asks, what was your favorite solo nano ship?
From way back in the day or currently? Like, from way back in the day, it was a sacrilege. You could make a sacrilege just obscene way back in the day. You can't, like, nano ships nowadays are kind of like, haha, jokey. You're using an Orthrus or you're doing it wrong.
Ozymandias Duskwalker asks, what's your favorite game apart from Eve?
Oof. I like Madden a lot. Like, we have an OG Madden, other games, Madden 2K17 NFL League that we play a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to join it. Seriously.
Yeah. I used to play Dota 2 a lot. I don't play as much anymore. We're right now playing a lot of Grid 2 and Project Cars. Battlefield 1, I like that one a lot. Like, I could probably be easier to just link you a screenshot of what's installed on my computer. No, I'm going to link the screenshot in the Mumble chat. Man, when you go off book on the question, she gets snippet. There you go. I linked the image. That's what I play as far as other games besides Eve go.
All right. Cynthinari asks, to follow up on my previous question about caps, you mentioned that you prefer Amarr over Gallente for fax machines. Does that also apply to carriers? The Archon has a huge tank, but Thanatos has high DPS. Which is more valuable during a cap fight?
Oh, the Thani is better by leaps and bounds. So combat carriers are different than fax. Like for fax machines, we prefer the Amarr, but for combat carriers, if you're in an armor fleet, you 100% want a Thanatos. You don't even, the Archon doesn't even exist in your mind as far as carriers go, because its big tank is extra useless when it's out of fighters and can't do shit. If you're in a shield super fleet or cap fleet, you want Nidhoggers. They are far and away better than the Chimera, like in every possible conceivable way. So yeah, for combat carriers, depending on shield or armor, you either want the Nidhogger or the Thanatos.
Tony Cake asks, how do you fit the mids of your Rorqual?
Depends. Are we talking about combat or are we talking about mining? If we're just talking about straight mining, I've got drone navigation comps to make it faster. Shield boost amp, cap injector to make sure I'll be able to use my shield boost amp long enough for help to come. A survey scanner and a booster. That's it. So boost amp, booster, cap injector, survey scanner, 3 drone nav comms. All that switches if I'm going into a fight, though. I fit a little bit more tank and then tackle.
Testament 81 asks, what is the thought process when deciding to escalate a fight versus pull out? Let's say escalation forces are available. How do you decide if they should be?
It's different for every FC. I am a gigantic show of force kind of guy. If there was a porno and I was in it, I'd probably walk in. I'd be the guy that walked in with his dick actually out swinging back and forth. Just because that's the way it's more fun for me. Giant American show of power. Drop everything as often as you can on everything. Other FCs are a little different about it, and they're sometimes slightly more hesitant. Basically, it depends on how much knowledge of the field you have is usually what helps you make your mind up about when you would use escalation.
Carl Landers, fuck you, asks, what is your opinion on the way the new structures work, such as vulnerability timers, 3
They suck.
forces, etc.?
They suck. Come on. Like, so here's the thing, right? I could see them wanting to give the owner some kind of termination in when the timer is set. But what is actually happening is the timers are being set for a few minutes before downtime so that they run through downtime, and it's almost impossible to do anything about them. Like, if you want to let them set like that, then you have to put some restriction that they can't be like the hour before or the hour after downtime, because you have to shoot this thing for 30 fucking minutes once it even becomes vulnerable. There's almost no way to get this done over the course of a downtime. So anybody that sets theirs for downtime is basically 100% immune, because it turns out 7 people from fucking Australia play this game, and that's just not enough to take it down a structure. If the structure is defended and armed by one of the 7 Australians, then the other 6 are completely fucked. So what you've ended up with is a situation where no one is actually setting their timers for combat, really. Well, not nobody. Few people set their timers for combat times when their alliance is stronger. Most people set the timers for the middle of the night or downtime, so that it's almost impossible to take them.
Christopher Menks asks, since you have been playing E for so many years and you've seen shitloads of updates and changes, do you think that CCP is going the right way with those?
Yeah, the game is definitely more fun than it was to play before. For sure. They are doing a good job. It's hard. There's a lot to balance here. Yeah, I couldn't imagine even trying. As much as I might complain about things, they do a far better job than maybe I ever possibly could. So the game has gotten better for subcaps, while at the same time weirdly getting better for caps, which I wasn't sure was ever a thing that could actually happen. 0-0 warfare is better. A series of changes have made bombers less. The question earlier about T1 battleships is interesting. There's not really anybody out there that's stopping you right now from using T1 battleship doctrines, because the biggest threat to those was always bombers, and all the organized mass bombing FCs either don't do that anymore or have decided they can't do it anymore because of the way the fights for Aegis Sov are more fluid. They're not as static, whereas before it was like it's on an iHub, it's on a TCU, it's on a station. You can set up bomb runs for that. Now, not so much. The nodes spawn all over the fucking place. So by the time you get set up to bomb one, suddenly it's done and they're gone.
Victor Checkmate asks, how many hours per week do you expect your court member to invest in the game, including sissy training? What do you think is the average in PL, and what do you think it should be?
I don't do an hourly rate. I do. So it's interesting. Like, so I have a lady that runs logistics for my corp and basically the overall larger alliance, and she tells me people that are actively helping her move stuff and get stuff in position and stuff like that. Then I have people that fly logistics in fleets, like the actual ship's logistics, and they usually tell me, like, I'll post a list up of these are the people that I don't think have been doing anything in corp, and they'll be like, no, this guy flies Logi all the time, this guy. And then for people that don't fit in either of those categories, like, I just ask you to kill 30 things a month. I don't care what those 30 things are. As long as it's not 30 noob ships and you're just out there milking me, I'll pretty much pass it over. Now, I don't care if you do that in one day, or if you do it one a day, or if you only play 2 days in a month and you get 15 each. That's the minimum amount of effort that I ask my members to put in. I think it's low enough that I'm 40. So if I can find the time to do it, and I hold myself to the same standard, you'll be hard pressed over the term of my CEOship in Snigg. You might find 2 months over like the 7 years where I haven't met my own kill quota. And I just feel like I've set it at a point where even if you have a family, you can probably log in and grab 1 fleet a month, and if we brawl, you'll get your quota filled. And to be fair, I've got a lot of other family guys. I take care of some people too, though. Like if you're military and you deploy and you're in my corp, I don't touch your account in any way, shape, or form, and we even try and help you if we can. Like I've got Jay McLean in corp now from Best of Us. He's been here for some months now, and he works with returned veterans. And we used to have Tobruk, who was an Army Ranger, and he worked with new deploys. Like when Freeze went over to Afghanistan, he helped maintain the care package system we use to get Freeze stuff like socks and extra snacks and shit like that he might need. Evidently, sending a soldier to Afghanistan, it looks like a desert, but nobody in the Army thought that it might get fucking cold there, so they didn't give him any of the proper winter wear, so we send him all that stuff too. So, yeah, I mean, it depends on your situation, like what I demand of you. Like, Heroku's fighting cancer, so I demand nothing of him. He just gets to stay in corp forever. Yeah, so generally I'm pretty flexible on that.
All right. Guerrero Amphibio Zerg says, Grath, did you ever play Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen? What do you think about these games?
I play Elite Dangerous. I own it. I have the super joystick to play it with, and it was once described as broad as an ocean but shallow as a mud puddle. And that is a really good description of Elite Dangerous. It is cool as fuck when you first get in it and you start mastering flight mechanics and stuff like that, and you want to juke and move around and all that cool shit, and you really first start to get the experience of the exploring the game. And then 4 days later, you're like, well, this is fucking dumb, because it's just going to be the things that I did for the first 4 days over and over and over again for the rest of my fucking life, and it sucks. Star Citizen, if you gave that guy money, I feel bad, but I too want to sell you something, so you can give me money next. I don't feel like that's ever going to be an actual game. Though I did see some weird miniatures game that had stolen all his ship designs. That was like some Chinese. It was an advertisement on a movie that I had watched that was bootlegged from China or whatever, and it had these little ships. I'm like, those are Star Citizen ships. Holy shit! It's this little miniature map game, so I think that's pretty outrageous. Like, at least somebody's getting to play with Star Citizen ships. But yeah, I think Chris Roberts is the best con man in the history of the world, and that people that gave him money pretty much just gave away money. I'm sure there was a homeless person somewhere that would have done more with what you gave him. But hey, Chris has a new house. Yeah, that's about it.
How Do I Shot says, since we aren't taking over tribute, do you expect to push on the CO2 Keepstar? If so, do you have an expected amount of PanFam losses ISK-wise? I'm looking forward to that fight.
I would say that the Keepstar is going to die, and I would also say that any level of loss is acceptable. Because it'll be the first one to die fully fit, like, of an existing empire. Like, there's been some that have been killed while they were anchoring, and some that got killed as soon as they were anchored, so they weren't fit and weren't properly defended. I hope CO2's been pretty good about it so far. I hope that they defend it, because I'd like to see how a fight with a defended one goes. But yeah, I don't think there's any level of loss I'm not willing to accept to see it go boom by our hands.
I'm gonna ask a question that
Oh God,
I was going to ask,
what?
but no one ever did. How does PanFam work exactly? Like, what's the difference between Waffles, Horde, and PL, and how do they all connect? Like, what is PanFam?
I would say it is the collected creative vision of different people in PL. So, and realistically, right now we connect like this. PL uses its knowledge base to inform as far as Horde goes. Waffles is an entirely different entity. It's heads. For a while, Sniggedly, the corporation that I run, was shut down, and everybody hung out in Sniggwaff. Everybody moved over, and then later Sniggedly was reopened, and Sniggwaff was turned into what it was for a lot of years. It's had a lot of different headmasters and stuff that have moved through, whereas Horde has only ever had goblins. Traditionally, a member of Snigg chosen by the CEO. I picked 2 or 3. Seamus picked 2 or 3 in his time. Would be a member of Sniggedly that we sent to go run the corp. Reza was one of my directors, and I sent him over to run it, and he's been there ever since. I like the job he does, and he's easy to deal with. We've had some really painful ones to deal with, some really scary ones, like Grogoth Drem was a CEO of Waffles, and that dude was fucking actually terrifying. He did creepy computer shit that makes a carpenter nervous, and it was just painful to get rid of him, whereas like Reza, if I wanted Reza to quit tomorrow, he'd be like, okay, and that'd be the end of the discussion. Like, he just decided to step down. I have absolute faith. So, but yeah, that's pretty much, I think our relationship has drifted apart, and I don't think that's as much of a bad thing, because as Horde gets stronger, it needs PL's guidance less, and it has its own internal members to impart knowledge. My dream is to one day reset you and farm you all like, you know, a fat field of sheep, but that's probably never going to happen. So I just kind of resign myself to the fact that we are like, I guess just an older brother. I don't like the father figure thing because we're bad at that, but an older brother would be a better description, and Waffles would be our younger brother, and you would be the youngest brother.
That leads into the next question. Sindri Xaris asks, you were on Jeff Rader's podcast a little while ago, and when talking about Waffles Pancakes, you stated that you must accept that there may become a time when your children are on the other side of a war. Would you do anything differently if PL and PH were ever on opposite sides?
Log in more, just because there'd be more of you to kill. No, there's absolutely nothing I would probably do differently other than, yeah, probably just try to log in more, because there are a lot of Horde dudes, and some of you are, there's definitely slow and weak in your herd, and I would go around and try and pick them all off. But generally speaking, no. And I do think that's super important. Like, if this is Goblin's organization, he's made it what it is all by himself. He's made the decisions that put it where it is, and I haven't agreed with all of them. On more than one occasion, we've even clashed a little bit. But there's still his decisions to make, and if that was to ever put him on the other side of a fight from us, no big deal. Goblins has been my friend for like 8 years, and I hope to be his friend for at least 8 more years. He's Italian, though. I know they have heart problems, so just kind of hoping he makes it.
Someone remembers Grath. That's cool. Z Inc. asks, how could the Horde cap fleet assist in large cap fight? Kill fighter bombers, dread bomb, etc.? Question mark.
All of that, actually. Like, if we were actually going to call the Horde cap group in for something, first of all, if we're calling your cap group in for something, you guys should know before you right-click jump, shit's deep. And it's bad, because we asked the Horde cap group to jump in and save us. But you would be told and tasked with a very specific, like, thing that was functionally, we thought would be easy for you to fit in on our group on. Like, it might be jump in, kill fighter bombers. It might be jump in dreads on a very specific target to nuke it. But yeah, you would be informed before you, or as you were forming, on what exact task you would perform. But they would be one of those tasks. I mean, maybe we ask you to jump in Hall Dreads and land in the middle of 300 hurricanes and get down like fucking Michael Jackson, and but you'd hear it when you formed up. Don't laugh at my Michael Jackson shit.
No, I was laughing at how do I shot in Discord. Said Grath FC Nubians would be like herding cats with a flamethrower.
I actually used to when Horde first started, I ran a bunch of Horde fleets to try and help Goblins when he was throwing everything together. We did some where me and Jeff were in Vargers, and we did Roams, and then we did others where it's easy for me to FC from a golem, turns out, because I just sit there and call targets and watch you all die. We did a tournament, a Nubian Frig tournament, where my golem was the center of the arena, and the entire idea was if you boundary violate, I get to kill you in a cruise missile golem while you brawl like little gladiators in front of me. And this Gorgon Empire worm gang decided to warp into where the Nubians were fighting in T1 frigates in 14 worms, and only 2 of the worms made it out alive because they all died to a man to the golem while you brawled noob ships around me. Is great. So I used to do it. It's not that bad, actually.
TGL asks, Grath, when will you FC New Beans?
Well, I've been FCing more lately, so I'm kind of getting back into it. So that is something that might happen or something like that. I don't know though. No promises. Like, I think Elise would have more fun with you than I would.
Victor Checkmate asks, who in PL decides whether to accept or purge a corp from the Alliance? How does this process work for Backcountry, considering they were goons at the time of B-R? Correct me if I'm wrong here.
So Elise generally makes that decision. And he makes that decision based on overall feedback from other people, other CEOs, myself, Jeff, Penif, Ron. They'll all influence Elise's decision. We'll have a discussion about it. What could they bring? What do we gain from letting them in? A lot of cases, people like, so let's take Bat for instance. Andy had a lot of friends in PL. Andy's a good dude. He's always been a fairly normal person to deal with for us, regardless of what everybody else has maybe posted about him. Like, evidently, according to some people, he's some kind of bipolar madman who's bent on ruling the world, but I just never got to see that part. So we only had what we had to go off of, and the potential is there for what we thought would be a good corp that might fit, at least socially anyway. Like, we can make you fly better over time if you are socially able to fit in. Some people can't really do that. And I mean, we've had some failed corps. We had a Russian corp we joined one time. We were like, yeah, we got Russians. They were like, we're going to recruit, we're going to get Nink to join our corp. And we were like, that sounds dope. We let them in. It was 6 Russians. Within 3 weeks, it was 1 Russian. And within like 2 months, it was just like a dude that logged in to fucking change his tech out of his moon at the time. So we had to get rid of them. The French corp we had didn't work out that great. Section 13, they were here for a while. That fell apart. We just kept a lot of the good French guys out of that, and they went on down the road. Other corps come and go over time, but yeah, it's basically, it's a decision Elise makes after we all talk it over and feel like, spitball how we think they would fit in.
Steven Anges asks, how long will a war between Horde and PL take?
It's hard to say with this stupid fucking sovereignty thing, right? So I tried to solo an Astra House, a medium, the smallest one. Yeah, turns out the damage cap for one of those is 1 Nix. So one guy in a super carrier will take as long to shoot a medium Astra House as 100 guys in subcaps or 35 guys in the right subcaps or whatever. It's 24 fucking minutes. So I decided to learn how to do this. I was going to kill one by myself. I could do this. It's 24 minutes of my time, 3 times. It took me 2 fucking weeks because I missed one goddamn timer and the thing reset. So it could take 7 days, or it could take us 365 days because we keep missing timers or some shit like that. That's one of the things I hate most about the SOV system. The actual combat, we probably break you in less than a week.
I'm gonna ask another question. I thought someone would ask, but no one has. To join PL, do you need a super cap at all?
No, I have people in my corp that don't have supers. We would like for you, of course, to have your eye on maybe one in the future. And if you didn't want one when you joined, just being around some of the super ops and seeing what the supers do and stuff like that has the effect of a lot of people are like, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. But it's not a requirement at all. Like, if you came to my corp and you had like 65 million skill points and you could fly most subcaps and you could fly an Amarr fax, but you had 0 desire to ever own a super carrier or a Titan, I'd be more inclined to give you a shot than if you came to my corp, had 65 million skill points and a super, but couldn't fly a fax. I'd turn you down outright.
Another question I thought that they would ask is, how do people in PL make so much money? And why are they like all so rich, it seems like?
Well, a lot of them are rich for playing the game for a long time, but the same things that you learn in Horde, like how we teach you to live on the area that you, like if Horde got kicked out of Fade tomorrow and Goblins was like, well, we're living in Great Wildlands. When you got to Great Wildlands, all the things you do right now to make money, you would do in Great Wildlands. We taught you how to be that way. You are not defined by the space you live in. You are defined by the flag that flies wherever you make that space at. So no matter where you go in Eve and you plop down a fucking Horde flag, that's where Horde lives. If Horde gets kicked out of wherever that is, they'll go some fucking place else and live. You're an actual flea infestation that is impossible to remove. So we taught you that because that's what we've been doing for years. If we invade your space and your space is all jacked up, until we take the system you're in, we can rat in it if you can't. Like, there's nothing to stop us. Like, what are you going to go do? Tackle the PL carrier that's in jump range of their staging with 200 other carriers? Well, good luck. I hope that works out great for you. I'm going to enjoy bosoning your fleet. The idea is that wherever you are, that's where you live. And you just learn to functionally make money in that space. Now, a lot of them at this point have ratting alts and stuff like that they've put in other places. Like at this point, some of them are ratting in supers and drone regions and stuff because they've moved past that. But generally, over the years, they've just amassed income doing exactly that. Like, that's it. Just live there.
Victor Checkmate wants to ask, some PL dudes enjoy spending time with Horde and teaching newbies. Are there any risks or consequences or purging that happens for hanging out with us while PL is deploying somewhere?
Nope. We lob, case in point.
Planet Killer Werewolf wants to ask, does PL care a lot about the prestige factor of a good kill board?
So that's weird, and I think it's on an individual basis. Like that Iron Bank guy that dumped his RKK ult when he was tackled in his Titan, that guy's dumb. You can go back and listen to, we had a really bad experience where a guy didn't listen with his super carrier. He was trying to catch up to the fleet, even though we told him not to. He ends up getting tackled. Somebody suggested that he self-destruct his ship. And the reaction from everybody else on Mumble was instantaneous and extremely hostile, like telling that guy to go fuck off. You don't self-destruct, you're tackled, you die like a champ. We seem to have picked up a few people over the past 3 years that care more about their kill board, which is a little weird. I mean, if you die, you die. Like, that's it. But we lost 30 Titans in one fight. There's nothing that you, the individual pilot, are going to ever lose to drag our kill board down anymore. So it seems kind of silly that people would do that type of thing. But I do know that some of the corps have slightly different structures than mine. I lost 73 billion in Marauders in the last year. Like, there's no loss you're going to have that can come anywhere fucking close to it. Good luck. I wish you the best. But, I mean, like, I don't care what you lose. I'm happy that you're playing.
Ghost and Free.
Hey, I'm getting rushed by her. She keeps asking.
No,
like, I'm
like,
saying, I don't have an actual time limit. It's like Sunday, so I don't have nothing going on till my football game's not on today. I don't have nothing. We just do this.
Wait. Okay. Ghost and Free Moon says, if you don't have an active contract, would PL deploy on their own for fun, or do you just wait for a new contract?
No, we definitely do stuff for fun, for sure. We don't have an active contract right now. You guys aren't moving in a tribute. There's literally nothing to force us to stay here. We're just kind of doing this for fun. We went to Amamaki for fun. We call them rapid deployments. We used to anyway. We would just pack up a carrier full of stuff and go somewhere for a week and dick around.
Another question that I thought that they would ask you, but no one did, is how did you become CEO of Snigg, and what's your current role in the Alliance? Like, what do you do?
Current role in the Alliance I would describe as nanny. I find the arguments that people are having and find ways to solve them. Believe it or not, everybody argues fairly constantly because we don't stifle differences in opinion. And that's going to always have a little bit of friction. The important thing is being able to solve those problems. And I got to be CEO, to quote Seamus. He thought I was a big enough asshole that I wouldn't let other people push Snigg around, and that's why he left me Snigg. Turns out he was right.
Xena Don Quixote says, "Is there
Don Coyote? Come on.
Yeah, shut up. I don't know.
Come on.
Whatever. Is there anyone other than goons who can threat PL in a real fight?
Sure. That's like all myth, and I hate to do it to the dudes to to ruin the show behind the curtain where the wizard's working, but like a lot of alliances could pose a threat to us. Shadow Cartel, Snuffbox, the low-sec alphabet basket of shit, the Russians, even Triumvirate, given the right situation, could probably be like. You don't necessarily need to kill our whole super fleet. You just need to kill a small portion of it.
People are giving me tons of shit about that Quixote thing. Fuck y'all, I know how to read. Lenore Ironblade asks, how does one hire PL? These questions were already answered. You can listen to it on YouTube. But how does one hire PL wasn't answered, and how much merc actually happens?
Well, you contact one of several people. There's a lot of people you can contact. Like most people go for active FCs, Penis Smash, Muck Barovian, Ron Mexico, Killer Bee, stuff like that, and they'll hit them up. Other people go to mail Elise, Jeff, myself directly, somebody like that. Easy ways to get a hold of people, and you just float the idea. Like I have a guy right now that wants to pay to have us protect his high-sec citadels, and I don't know how much to charge him for that. I don't even know where to start. So what I do is I then just take the mail and I forward it to people that I think might give a shit. If they give a shit, the contract gets picked up. If they don't, then it gets turned down. How much contract work actually gets done? A fair bit. Pretty much since Morse's Mihi hired us to stop the Bob attack a long time ago. We probably pick up one or more contracts a year. Doesn't sound like much, but most of the like everything in Eve takes time. So your contract in Eve that you pick up might take 2 weeks, but another one might take 6-7 months. World War B obviously didn't take near as long as we thought it would. But yeah, that's about it. That's how you get a hold of it. And we seriously consider jobs based on how much fun they are and how much money we make, in that order. It's literally in that order. Not money first. I mean, we have trillions and trillions and trillions of assets that we can turn into money anytime we want. It's how much fun is the campaign you're asking, and how much money do we make off of it second.
Stephen Anderges asks, what are the odds that Tribute becomes a vacuum without a resident?
0. The second we scurry off, somebody will move in. Like when it'll be vacant for the time that we're there if nobody else moves into it, but the second we're gone, the vacuum will close really fast. Like whether it be test expanding to the west, or CO2 moving back in, or like that's an actual possibility, right? We could scrape CO2 off the map like a fucking turd off the sidewalk, and we can leave, and in 2 weeks they can be back in because nobody else wanted the space. The only thing is they'll be short a Citadel and most of their pride.
Juice Goldstein asks, what's the best battleship, and why is it the hyperspatial fit Material?
I don't really like mechs at all. I like rattlesnakes better. That's just me. Yeah, that's it. Actually, Tempest is pretty good too. It's pretty versatile.
160 Soar asks, as far as PL, what are you looking for, leaders or followers?
Neither of those actually. People that think they're leaders generally are arrogant and assume too much about what they can and can't do, and people that are followers are never going to be helpful. What we look for is, I would say, self-starters.
Victor Chickmate asks, there used to be a PL kill board that showed active campaigns, but that looks abandoned for years. Is there any public place where you show what campaigns are currently active? If not, what campaigns are currently active, and who are the commanders?
We don't actually have a campaign commander per se right now. This project wasn't a campaign as much as it was just a thing that everybody kind of was, from what I can read anyway. Like, I'm not exactly privy to all of it. I'm not in the other channels, but there isn't anybody that's directing in that capacity right now in PL. As far as this campaign goes. And yeah, when we abandoned the old forums, we abandoned the old kill board. So, and even still, the kill board had been neglected for years because Captain Thunk had been working on our replacement kill board, which was amazing. But no, there isn't any place that lists that currently. Our current kill board is kind of just an add-on thing. We haven't quite got to it yet, as far as I'm aware. I believe it's going to be made better. I'm not sure in what capacity or whatever, and I don't rush them since there are 7 dudes that work on our stuff, and they do it pretty much for free out of the kindness of their heart, and knowing that like one of them works for Facebook and one works for Microsoft and all this other shit, and they still come home and program stuff for their video game internet spaceship guild, I'm pretty fucking happy. So when we get the kill board, we get it. If we never get it, oh well. Oh, we're out of questions? Fuckity, not bad.
I mean, unless anyone has last minute ones. Yep, there would be one, of course. Where does null-sec? Oh, Tax is asking. Where does null-sec go from here? It seems like outside of small scrums, there aren't any major wars brewing. Do you think we'll have a lapse of peace for a while?
We do every once in a while get little peaceful lapses that last like a couple months. There's actually fights going on that you don't, just because there aren't major in your capacity, which I actually think is good. When I went into nullsec, I fought in wars in the south, and I heard about the wars in the north, but I never actually got to see any of them. I didn't fly up there to take part in them or anything else like that. My wars were in the south. And then in the middle years of me playing, that all went away, and it didn't matter where you were at in the game. You'd show up at a particular war because it was probably in range. You'd get there. So nowadays, like there's an actual war in the south going on between like FCon and Try and those guys over there. And then there's a war in Fountain that's actually going on, and then there's some shit brewing in Catch that looks like it wants to be a war. Then there's what's going on here in the north. Now, to me, that's 4 very distinct conflicts that are active or about to become super active. And the people in those wars don't care about the other wars. They don't feel the need to come and get those. To me, that's a really good place for the game to be in. It'll be more balkanized. Like there are people right now that might have joined in the past 2 weeks and gotten hooked up with FCon, and they're fighting in a war in the south. They've never seen the north. They might be aware, like if they read Reddit, that there's a war going on in the north, but maybe not so much. So I think, yeah, I think 0-0 is actually in a really good spot. I think conflicts will be much more localized.
All right. Do you think Christopher Minks asks? Do you think it's possible for people like me that start EDIV 3 years ago to catch up with experienced and skilled players and play with them on the same level? Since we'll always be missing years of SP.
Yeah, that's a pretty common myth that you can't ever be, like you'll never be able to catch up to an older player. So let's take me for example. I have 190 million skill points, right? I can fly everything. If me and you got into an arbitrator, less than 10 million of my skill points directly applies to that arbitrator. The other 180 million are all for other shit that has nothing to do. So if you train that 10 million skill points, you would be skill point wise just as strong as me in the arbitrator in a relatively short amount of time. Eve allows you to have, like, if you want to become laser focused on one task, like say interceptor pilot, within 6 to 8 months you can be a max skilled interceptor pilot and be just as good as any other interceptor pilot who's been playing for 10 years skill point wise. Then it just becomes mechanical mastery of what you need to do, which, I mean, like, you played video games, you've obviously played games before, that just takes almost no time. So while you will hold a disadvantage in diversity over an older player, that's the only disadvantage you hold. If you want to learn how to play, there's no task that you, a 3-week player, can't really master that a 10-year player has. He can just do more of those tasks well. You'll just be able to do like maybe 1 or 2 tasks really good, and that'll increase over time. It's how you choose to go about it.
I can confirm this. I have done that.
Yeah. She started, like, she used to have a character, and she quit, and she decided when she came back, like, to start from scratch, 100% from scratch. And she is like, she's only been playing again for a little over a year, but she has pretty much the same exploration skills as I have, and I've been playing for 10 years. No big deal. She chose to specialize in that regard. She's and frigates in general, yeah. Yeah, so and she's probably better in frigates than a lot of 80 or 90 million skill point characters for sure that don't like to fly frigates. So it's all in how you choose to roll.
Possessive wants to know, do you have any tips on how to avoid the dreadball goons are hiding in Saranin?
Yeah, flex real hard.
Steven says, do you think that bomber fleets will be completely pushed out of the meta with the new dicks coming?
No, I don't. I actually think what's holding bomber fleets back right now is a lack of active bomber FCs that really want to try hard. I think if there were more of those, you'd see more bomber fleets because there's tons of bombable shit out for sure. Like half the fleets that walk right now just scream one bomb. So I just think that the thing that's holding bomber fleets back is more of an active player in that regard that's good at it.
Tex, the man only eats preserves. He's like a giant bear. He's never trying squeezy jelly. Alright?
What? Yeah. What? No, not squeezy jelly.
Yeah,
No.
please just try squeezy jelly.
No. I do eat honey whole
Like
out of the bottle.
Grizzly bear in real life. Anyway, Commander Stargazer, Grath, can we please get PL to push for an Epophany Jeff Raider commentator matchup for the next AT?
Yeah, Jeff's not really into doing those types of things per se. I don't like. I think he enjoys a different public format than the tournament. Like, he would have more fun flying in a tournament than he would ever talking about other people flying in a tournament. So I don't think that'd be as much fun for him as people think it would, and that's why it's hard to get him to. He's never signed up. He's never tried.
I think it's too like try hard for him.
Yeah. He would rather, like I said, he would rather. Jeff's not the kind of guy that likes to watch other people play games or talk about other people playing games. Jeff's the kind of guy that likes to play a game and scream at you while he's doing it, like tell you about how his day is going, what he's doing.
I don't really know what this question means, but Victor Checkmate wants to know, what's the next Jesus feature that you'd like CCP to develop? Don't think about what's realistic, just about what you'd like to see.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I'd like space to be more. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, I would like you to be able to dictate and control more about your space. You know, like you've moved way out to Omist. It's 100 jumps from anything, and you're stuck with the exact station layout that the guys that populated Omist 14 years ago or whatever picked when they started building a station down there. The gates are all configured like CCP wants, so this is your space. Can't you just hook up a fucking bus to the gate and tow it somewhere else? I realize. Yeah, that's about it.
Doom Chichilla says, how does it feel knowing that Bernard is a robot and that you're gay pwned?
I don't know who Bernard is, but being gay pwned feels pretty good.
Victor Checkmate, do you think we'll go to Delve to shit on Goon Swarm again in 2017? Or they'll try to take the North, or do you think they'll try to retake the North on their own?
I can tell you one thing, the Goon does not give a fuck about the North now that they have Delve. The rats are better to shoot, the space is better, the moons are better, everything about the space is better where they live now. Then yeah, nobody, like the misery of, hey, I showed up, I'm gonna shoot this rat, oh fuck, I'm jammed. Well, I'm just gonna sit here and wait till I'm not jammed. Yeah, that's dumb. Nobody likes that. Anybody that says they like that is also a cheese grater masturbation expert.
Blazer V says, you like that? Woo!
I didn't like that actually.
And then KV2 DNG says, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
All right, well, there's the asshole. So we're gonna wrap it up now. That's over an hour for me, and that all got ruined by one dickhead with an ice cream.